Good morning, everyone. So glad you could join us for coffee again. And for me, it's a little cold here in Lamont. I think coffee tastes better when it's cold outside. Gee, I hope you had a nice week and a nice weekend celebrating New Year's and starting off again. And I pray that you always have a good time and enjoy the life that God gave you. I'd ask you to continue praying for our retired Vincentians, priests and brothers who are in need of God's healing, and also to continue praying for friends of the mission who are in need of a miracle, a special gift from God. And so please continue to remember Tim and Clarence and Sharon and Maria and Scott and Nina and Betsy, and pray for Rick and Karen and Stan and Louise and Bob, Loretta, Bill, and Barbara. Pray for all of these people, and I know they appreciate your prayers. My reflections are on the weekend again. It's Monday, but I still think about yesterday's celebration. It's one of my favorite. I know I tell you that a lot, but this is one of my favorite. It's the Feast of Epiphany, and there's so many wonderful insights on this story. It's a celebration of the wise men coming to find Jesus. And it's a fascinating story for me because these were known, listed in the legend as wise men coming from different countries. They heard about this birth of a king. Now, up until this time, it was a local deal. I mean, I'm sure the shepherds, they couldn't wait to tell their neighbors and tell people in the next farm over and a little town. But now, these wise men, kings, are coming from different countries. This is now a world event. And because they heard he was a king, they came bearing gifts. But another king at the time heard about this as well, King Herod. He looked on a new king as a threat. And so he wanted to find him, and so he could have him killed. And even in the process, he was killing little baby boys, and hopefully if he killed them all, then he knew he would have killed this king that everybody was talking about, and everybody was looking forward to. And he was asking these wise men, let him know where he is so he can come and do him homage. Yeah, right. But the beauty of the story is that here are these rich kings coming from different countries to the house of a poor family. They were going to visit somebody who was poor. Joseph and Mary and their family, they didn't have anything. So the beauty of the story in many ways is these rich kings coming to visit a king who was poor. It was a visit to the poor, and I find that very striking. And, once they come with their gifts, I love the story because it's told they followed a star. That's one of God's lights. They followed a star to find him. And the joy they had. And I'm sure, for them, as known as wise men and following all the stories and the astrologers and everybody predictions and so on, they wanted to find out the reality, the truth of it. And having found that, it turned into worship. It turned into worship, a new king. And I just find it fascinating how now this little king belonged to the world. It was no longer a local event. He belonged to all of us. You know, and I always tell this, then the wise men turned into wise guys. These wise guys, they went home a different way. Herod never found out. They had no intention, didn't want Herod to find out. So these wise men became wise guys. And they really stiffed Herod, which I laugh about today. Anyway, the wonderful story. It belongs to the world. Today is a feast that fits this weekend. It's the feast day of St. John Newman. He's a priest. He came from Bohemia. And here's ministry. Taking care of immigrants in Western New York. He himself was an immigrant. And I find the connection, how our country belongs to the world. And that was his ministry. And coming from Bohemia, I know there were a lot of Germans that he helped. And then, I don't know, after about 4 years of that, he went to Pennsylvania and joined the Redemptorists. And he continued his ministry to immigrants, Germans and Irish. But at that time, there was such an anti-Catholic movement in Pennsylvania, especially in Pittsburgh. And at the time, he then knew that maybe his ministry was changing, and he turned into becoming an educator and building schools and developed a catechism because he wanted everybody to know about this beautiful Catholic faith and about the God of the Catholic faith. And unfortunately, he died an early death. He's relatively a new saint. He was canonized in 1977. But I look on him in the whole weekend, how God belongs to everybody. Nobody has a right to claim him as their own only. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about for the weekend, and I hope they are some kind of thoughts that you can think about too. And so once again, as we come to the end of our time, we say our mission prayer to get today. And I say it for the miracles needed in our world, maybe to bring peace, and for the miracles in your life. Divine Savior, transform me into yourself. May my hands be your hands. May my tongue be your tongue. Grant that every faculty of my body may serve only to glorify you. Above all, transform my soul and all its powers, that my memory, my will, and my affections may be the memory, the will, and the affections of you. I pray you to destroy in me all that is not of you. Grant that I may live but in you and by you and for you, that I may truly say with St. Paul, I live now, not I, but Christ lives in me. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out on Wednesdays, and if you haven't sent in your email yet, send it in. God bless. Stay safe.